So I go to File, New. I'm going to start an assembly. So if you go to the M drive, courses, MET, 122, Sun Spring 2019. There's the CSWA assembly practice in class. So I'll wait for you guys to locate that file. I'm just gonna assemble one by one. So again, this should be a review. Right? You guys done assemblies. You guys done more advanced assemblies actually. So the CSW exam is not hard assembly-wise. I'm gonna insert the post. Right. So right now it's floating. I can adjust the degrees, I can rotate it. But if I actually just click away or get away, it's just gonna made it to the origin of the assembly. So I usually just do that to start off. You don't have to, it can be floating, and then you can just add a coordinate mass and just find your center of mass with respect to that coordinate system. Click OK. Assemble. I'm going to insert, let's say I'm going to insert another component. Let's insert the pivot. You guys, is that better? Pivot. So I'm going to make this right. I'm going to add this face, right? I'm going to add a concentric mate with that face right now. I can lock the rotation, right? I can toggle lock rotation. I can't rotate it.
How'd you do that?
So right now, if I go back to my mates, there's this with the concentric. I can lock the rotation. So I don't want that locked, right? I can rotate about that post, but it's still floating, right? I can add, let's say I can add a coincident, right? If I want these two faces to be coincident. I can also add a distance. Let's say I want there to be a gap that's 1 millimeter. Right? It's basically just a gap between those two faces that's selected to be coincident.
I can't change the number. Okay, never mind, I got it.
But so far so good, right? So the CSWA exam utilizes mates that you've seen on the previous class. Nothing new. So let's say I want that 0.1, right? I can still rotate, right? Let's add an angle. So I want an angle between this face and that face. I don't want it to be parallel. I want to add an angle. Let's say 45 degrees. Or you can do 90. Right? Or 72. Let's do 45.
Can you put limits on the angle, like an angle from 45 to?
You can, but it's more advanced. We probably won't do that in this class.
Is it hard?
It's just another constraint. I'll show that next class, or I don't want to overcomplicate things. I'll probably just go go over what's on the CSWA. So I'm fully defined, right? I can't rotate this. This is not floating. At any point, I can go in, I can change the angle. Say 30 degrees if SolidWorks asks you, or the CSWA exam asks you to go in and change the angle. Right, so this is pretty straightforward so far, right? Right, just adding a part, mating it, leaving a gap, adding a coincident. Really not much to it. And actually on the CSW exam, it's not gonna be, it's just gonna be angles and just mating parts. There's nothing to it.
How far was the distance from the block to the
It's 1 millimeter.
well, okay.
Yeah, I kind of just chose a random. You can make it coincident. You can add a distance. Right. If my mate is, or if my assembly is fully defined, if I go in and let's say I want to add a mate between these two, SolidWorks is not gonna like that. Right. I already told SolidWorks that there is a 1 millimeter gap, and I'm telling it that these two faces are coincident. It's gonna ask, okay, there's already a mate that defines the distance between these two faces, right? Would you like to break that mate, or would you like this to drive or over-define? Again, this is really not on the CSWA, but it's just a good, so if you're over-constraining your assembly, right, SolidWorks will give you a warning to cancel. Let's insert another component. Let's insert the swivel. Let's change that to so again, adding a concentric mate. Right, I have two circles, or circle profiles. Do this, that, right? It slides within that profile.
You can't build that.
What do you mean?
You can't make that.
Yeah. This is for, well, yeah.
Or you could 3D print it.
Yeah, and you can break the material up.
You can build it if you use enough tools.
It wouldn't be.
Right, and then let's say I add,
You can only do it on a computer.
let's say a coincident mate between these two faces. Another way I can do this, actually, if I delete these two,